What do you think about the meeting between Khamenei and Vladimir Putin in July? What's that alliance? What's that partnership? Is it surface level geopolitics, or is there a deep growing connection?
I cannot see the difference between geopolitics and these deep connections. I see it's the one and the same. Why? Because I think the experience of 40 years of distancing from the West in terms of the Islamic Republic, and the fact that there is a shelf life to imperial presence
Yeah.
for any empire anywhere in the world. So after the terrible experience of the United States in Iraq and in Afghanistan, pretty much like the British Empire, that after the Suez experience in 56, decided to withdraw from east of Suez. Maybe there is a moment here that we are witnessing, or it may come, that a great power like the United States sees in its benefit not to get too much involved into nitty-gritty things in other parts of the world, that it's not its immediate concern. Mm-hmm. And I think that is part of the reason, not the entire reason, part of the reason why we see the emergence of a new geopolitical environment in this part of the world, of which China, Russia, possibly Iran, possibly Turkey, possibly both of them, are going to be part. Mm-hmm. Perhaps Saudis also, but I doubt that the Saudis, under the present circumstances, although we've witnessed some remarkable issue in the course of the past few weeks, where the Saudis giving assurances to American administration and then shifting and getting along with Putin. In terms of the oil production, I think it's more than that even. And it's not only them, but also the Emirates are doing the same thing. So what does that tell us?
And that's another many-hour conversation about the oil industry in Iran and the whole region.
In emerging this kind of a world, which was perhaps even 10 years ago unimaginable, that you see now a great power, China, that it's going to remain, from what we see around us, as a great power, and Russia, adventurous, foolish, but nevertheless would remain criminal, I would say, as far as its behavior in Ukraine. But actually, it's a rogue nation that attracts another rogue nation. So Iran finds itself now in a greater place of security in alliance with Russia, in the hope that this would give Iran a greater security in this part of the world. Whether this is realistic or an illusion, I think remains to be seen. I think Iran-China relation makes more sense. Although, if you ask ordinary Iranians, they don't like it. They would tell, why should we be tied up with China as the only trade party with America because of the foolish isolations that you have created for us, because of all the sanctions that you have created for us, the Islamic Republic. So, in a sense, it's a very difficult question to answer. Probably Iranians also like to be more on the other camp. But what happens is that in real term, what surprises me most is not this alliance with China, but it's kind of becoming a lackey or subservient to Putin's regime in Russia. Since if you look at it, Iran ever since at least the 19th century, not going further back, the beginning of the 19th century, always viewed Russia as the greatest threat strategically, because it was sitting right at the top of Iran. It was infinitely more powerful than Iran has ever been. And Iran fought 2 rounds of war at the beginning of the century, lost the entire Caucasus to Russia, and learned its lesson that you have to be mindful of Russia and you have to keep it as an arm's length. And that's what was the Iran's policy throughout the course of the 20th century, 19th and 20th century, up to what we see now around us, which is a very strange situation. Whether the balance has changed in terms of if Russia is purchasing weapons from Iran, which was unheard of, it means that there is a new balance is emerging, a new relationship is emerging. Perhaps remains to be seen. But if you look at the historical precedents, it would have been enormously unwise to be an ally of Russia, given its long history of aggression in Iran. See, Russians, part of the reason why it's actually Iran allied itself with British Empire was the fact that it was so much afraid of the Russian expansion. And as such, I don't know what's going to be the future of this relationship.
There is a big disconnect between governments and the people. And I think ultimately, I have faith that there's a love across the different cultures, across the different religions, amongst the people. And the governments are the source of the division and the conflict and the wars and all the geopolitics that is in part grounded in the battle for resources and all that kind of stuff. Nevertheless, this is the world we live in.